Have you ever opened your bank account and felt more fear than numbers? Not the kind of fear that screams, the quiet kind that sinks into your chest just as you're trying to fall asleep. After 60, even our finances start to whisper stories of what we've earned, what we've lost, what we sacrificed, and what we still quietly hope for. You see, money changes after 60. It's no longer about dreams of more. It becomes about feeling safe, not rich, just safe. I remember a woman I met in a church basement years ago. Her name was Ellen. Silver hair tied back, cardigan too thin for winter. She always smiled. Always. One afternoon after a meeting, I sat beside her and asked if she needed help with the cleanup. She paused, and then said something I'll never forget. "I'm not too old to scrub a table," she smiled, "but I am too tired to pretend I'm not worried about money." It wasn't dramatic, it wasn't loud, but I felt the heaviness in her voice. She'd been quietly skipping lunch so she could help her grown son pay rent. Not because he asked, but because mothers don't really stop giving. And when I asked if she had savings, she looked at me and said, "I have recipes from 1972 that stretch rice for 5 meals. Does that count?" We both laughed, but it wasn't a funny kind of laugh. And maybe, in your own way, you've lived a version of Ellen's story. Maybe you've said no to a simple pleasure just because it wasn't in the budget. Maybe you've tucked away that medical bill behind your magazines because you didn't want to see it again. Maybe you've loaned money to someone you love, even when your gut said, "I'm not sure I'll get this back." Or maybe, and this is the hardest part, you felt shame, not because you failed, but because somehow you feel like you should have known better, done better, planned better. But here's what no one tells you after 60. Money is not just numbers, it's history, it's identity. It's what you gave up to raise children, to care for someone sick, to take that job because you had to, not because you wanted to. And when people talk about building wealth after 60, they often forget something important. Wealth isn't just cash in the bank. It's peace of mind. It's freedom from panic. It's being able to buy your grandchild a birthday present without calculating the cost of milk that week. And for many of us, that kind of wealth, emotional wealth, mental freedom, has felt out of reach. But here's something I've learned, gently and slowly. You're not behind. You're not broken. And it is not too late. Not too late to heal your relationship with money. Not too late to make changes, small ones, that make you feel in control again. Not too late to stop apologizing for things you did with the knowledge and tools you had at the time. Because the truth is, most of us were never taught how to feel safe with money. We learned to survive with it, to stretch it, to hide our fear behind politeness and coupons. But after 60, you deserve more than survival. You deserve peace. And that peace doesn't start with a financial advisor. It starts in a quiet moment, at the kitchen table, with a notebook, or maybe just with a whisper that says, "I'm ready to feel calm about my money." That's where we begin, not with shame, but with softness. So as we move forward in this video, I'll gently walk you through a few steps, simple ones, that can help you rebuild not just your finances, but your confidence. Because wealth after 60, it's not about millions, it's about meaning. And meaning is something you've had all along. Let's take a breath, right here, right now. Not for the world outside, but for the world within. Because the moment we decide to take a second look at our money gently, without blame, something begins to shift. No, it's not a miracle, but it is movement. And at this age, movement matters more than perfection. So what's one small shift that can help rebuild peace around your finances? It's simpler than you think. Start writing things down, not in some complicated spreadsheet, not with fancy budgeting apps, just with a pen, a quiet moment, and a little notebook. Track where your money goes, not to judge it, but to see it. What we look at with kindness, my grandmother used to say, we begin to understand. And what we understand, we begin to heal. Here's the truth. For many of us, money has been like a fog. We know we spend, we know we earn, but the space in between, it's blurry, especially when bills pile up, or you're helping others without tracking what it costs you. But when you start writing down the tiny daily choices, that $4 coffee, that $18 online order, that automatic subscription you forgot about, you start to feel something unexpected: clarity. And clarity, dear friend, feels a lot like control. Like turning on a light in a room you've been scared to enter. I once knew a man named Frank. He was 67 when he started keeping what he called a money mood journal. Each evening he'd write down two things. 1, what he spent that day. 2, how he felt when he spent it. He told me, "I didn't realize how often I spent money when I felt lonely. Not hungry, not in need, just a little empty." And somehow clicking add to cart filled something for a moment. But when he noticed the pattern, he didn't judge himself. He simply changed the rhythm. "Now," he said, "I call my daughter when I feel that itch. I talk to someone instead of spending to fill the silence." That's what this shift is about. Not numbers, but noticing. Not guilt, but grace. So why does this one habit work so well? Especially after 60? Because we're not building a future out of fantasy. We're tending to the present with wisdom. It's like replanting your old garden with wiser seeds. You're not starting over, you're starting deeper. Maybe you've believed you're just not good with money, or maybe people in your life made you feel like asking financial questions was silly. But there's nothing silly about wanting peace. There's nothing foolish about wanting to feel safe. And it starts not with hundreds of dollars, but with one calm page, one truth, one honest look at what comes in and what quietly goes out. You might say, "But what's the point? I can't undo years of poor choices." That's true, but you can choose something different, starting now. Because peace isn't about fixing the past, it's about freeing yourself from it. Here are a few ways to begin. Keep a money in, money out notebook for 7 days. No judgment, just honesty. Every night ask, did I spend from peace or pressure? If you find leaks, subscriptions, old auto pay bills, plug them. Every saved dollar is a quiet yes to yourself. And if you're still helping others financially, ask yourself softly, am I giving from love or from fear? Sometimes we give because we want to be needed, but real love doesn't ask you to sacrifice your safety. These habits may sound small, but small things, done daily, become strong things. It's like tending to a pot of tea. You don't boil it in 1 second. You wait, you watch, you pour. The same goes for your relationship with money now. It's not about rushing, it's about returning to a place where money isn't a monster in the closet, but a tool in your hand. You deserve to feel that kind of calm, not someday, not when things are better, but now. By the time we reach our 60s or 70s, we've lived entire lifetimes with money, sometimes without it, sometimes fighting it, sometimes quietly resenting it, and maybe no one ever said it to you out loud. So let me be the first. Money isn't just about math, it's about memory. It's about what your parents told you, or didn't tell you, what you saw growing up, the stress, the silence, the survival. It's about that first job, where you were underpaid, but too afraid to ask for more. It's about the debt you still carry from helping someone you loved, the house you couldn't keep, the retirement account that never quite grew the way you'd hoped. And all those experiences, they live somewhere inside you, in your shoulders, in your gut, in the way your hands hesitate when you reach for your wallet. So today, let's pause and look at it all, gently, not with blame, but with soft understanding. Because here's the truth, you did what you had to do, with what you had. And if no one told you this before, you did the best you could. You survived, you gave, you tried. That deserves respect, not shame. I met a man named Richard once, in a small-town library near Ohio. He was 73 with kind eyes and calloused hands. He told me he'd spent most of his life working double shifts, and still somehow ended up with more aches than assets. I always felt like money was a game other people were taught, he said. I just worked. I never had time to learn the rules. But then he smiled. I may not have $1 million in the bank, but I raised 3 decent humans. That's wealth to me. That stayed with me, because sometimes we forget. Wealth isn't always written in digits. It's written in memories, in lessons passed down, in quiet dignity, in choosing love, even when money was tight. Still, it's okay to admit that money hurts sometimes. To say, I'm afraid I'll run out. I wish I'd saved more. I wish I'd said no more often. It's okay to feel the weight of those thoughts, but it's not okay to let them steal your joy today. You are still here. You are still breathing, and peace is still possible. Here's a thought that might help. Let the money that never came go. Not because it didn't matter, but because you matter more. You matter more than the regret, more than the missed opportunity, more than the credit score or the what-ifs. You are not your bank balance. You are not your past decisions. You are a full, valuable, resilient human being. And that can never be measured in dollars. So what does wealth look like now? Maybe it's simpler than you imagined. Maybe it's the warm mug in your hands as you sit by the window. Maybe it's the sound of your grandchild's laughter on the phone. Maybe it's the moment you forgive yourself for not being perfect and choose peace instead. That is wealth. Quiet, grounded, spiritual wealth. And if you're still making changes, still tracking, still learning, still trying, you are not late. You're right on time. You know, I picture you sitting there, watching this, maybe in a small kitchen with the light above the sink still on. Maybe the TV is humming in the background. Maybe it's just you tonight, or maybe your partner is nodding off in the next room. Wherever you are, I want you to hear this deeply. You are not alone in how you feel. Millions of us are quietly trying to feel safe, to feel peace, to feel okay with money again. And if anything in this message touched you, please, don't keep it to yourself. Share this video with someone who's quietly fighting their own money fears. Someone who tucks bills away in drawers or silently wonders if they've done enough. And if you'd like more comfort like this, more soft truths and practical hope, subscribe, leave a comment, and walk with us. Because you're not too old, you're not too late, and you are never, ever alone here.